See this? This is life. You see this? This is death. That death supports life. See this? This is a living organism. An organism whose life depends upon death. All the cells in my body are dying at every moment while also reproducing and giving birth to new ones. This death is as much a part of me as is life. I believe it was John Locke who referred to time as perpetual perishing. This was a important insight for Whitehead's philosophy. He talked about each new moment imbued with novelty, then fading from its subjective immediacy, but then being preserved in objective immortality, because for him the past was like this objective thing. It was this single unity, as he put it. The many become one and are increased by one. The many being all the individual occasions that comprise the present moment. They become solidified into this concrete entity known as the past, and then become sort of imbued in future moments. So, I've been following Matt. Okay, that is discussion about philosophy as preparing for death, and then I'm seeing Piro's objection to it. I think it's important to understand death as not just the moment that happens, sometime off in the future when you're like 80 or 90 years old and you're in some retirement home or something. I realize that every moment is a death, and it is also a new life. That I think if we worry about the afterlife, try to understand what happens to us after death. If we start to understand each new moment as a life that then dies with the coming of the next moment, then our concern about death and the afterlife, can become less. Realize that each new moment is born from the death of another moment, and each moment is filled with consciousness, with experience. And so if we apply that to what we think of as death, you could say that it's sort of like a kind of reincarnation, but not in the sort of, but it's not in the kind of reincarnation in the sort of individualistic sense that people think of, where you have a single soul that goes on to the next body. It's more like each moment dies and becomes reincarnated into the next moment. It becomes part of the next moment as part of its objective immortality. And so, in a sense, each of us in this moment are a reincarnation of this singularity that we call the past. And so and I remember Matt was also talking about the soul, and I would say that the soul is not so much the I would say I believe in a soul, but it's not the kind of soul that people normally think of in this is this sort of Cartesian cogito, that it resides somewhere inside of us. That's kind of a ghost in the machine, if you will. It's more like I think the soul is kind of this pattern that we call ourselves. It's this the sort of personality traits, beliefs, um, and sort of morphic field, if you will. So that it's like like I said, each moment is a new birth, a new death, but the objects that we perceive in each moment, they're not they're constantly changing, but the thing that we perceive as changing, it isn't a substance. It's a kind of pattern, and that pattern is like that soul. And so, in a sense, the soul does go on to live forever, even though it is constantly changing, because it becomes an imprint on each new moment. And so in a sense, I kind of see the afterlife as both a sort of oblivion, as kind of fading into this singularity, which you can call Godhead or Dharma or what have you, but at the same time that singularity giving birth to each new individuated occasions, these that inform these individual organisms. So we realize that each of us becomes the whole, and the whole then becomes individuals. And it's this cycle of individual and collective. It breathes, if you will, with each new moment. So I guess that's it for now. Peace.